Hey y'all, thanks for joining us. Today we have Dane Drebin with Bartender for Hire. Dane, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
So, Dane, for those that don't know you, can you give us a little bit of a background on who you are, where you're from, jobs in the past, that kind of situation?
Yeah, my name's Dane Drebin. I have been in the service industry my entire life. I've been a cook, I've been a server, a busser, I've done it all, from Utah to Washington to Oregon. And basically, I've been a server for over 13 years, bartender, and eventually I just said, I want to make my own business and decided to jump into bartender for hire. And I started basically having clients that would come up on yachts and stuff and want me to come over and bartend for them at their private residences. And I just realized, man, I'm making so much more money doing this. If I could somehow make this my life, everything would be good. And that's essentially what I've done. And I've just been making businesses off of that. So, but yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. If you've been to a restaurant, I've probably done it.
Okay, so you said you've been in the service industry for 13 years.
Yeah.
What all have you done in the service industry? I know that as a background that you sent over to Andrea and I, that you have a long list of credentials. So
Yeah.
if you could tell the listeners a little bit about that as well.
I mean, I've done it all. I think my first job was at Burger King. And then I went on to, in Utah, I worked for the Winter Olympic teams doing catering and stuff. So that was really cool. I got to meet Shaun White and like a bunch of Olympians and make their food for them. And then I even had such crappy jobs as making dough. Like I literally made pizza dough at like 50 gallon barrels, breathing in flour, making 7.25 an hour, hating life. So I've done it all. I've served, bussed, bartended, supervised, managed stores. I kind of know it from every angle, what sucks about different positions, what's great about different positions. So I felt really prepared to make a business based on the service industry because I pretty much know every avenue of it.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about where you're based out of now
Mm-hmm.
and because it's my understanding, also based on what you sent over, that this is kind of one of a couple arms of business, correct?
Yeah. So right now, I live in Gig Harbor, Washington. I've worked at Anthony's in the harbor. So I guess I would actually say my service industry has been over 20 years, because I've been at Anthony's now for 13. So I still work there a couple days a week. It's a really nice restaurant on the water. But I started Bartender for Hire. We provide private bartenders for private events. We also have mobile bartending where we rent out our mobile bars. And then we also have, we just started a DJ business and a party bus business. So we're trying to become a one-stop shop for everything bartending, events, weddings, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, like any kind of party you can celebrate, we're down to do it. So,
Okay, you keep saying we. So are you
yeah,
in this by yourself or do you have partners?
good
How does that
question. So it's kind of complicated. I started out as myself, and then I started realizing like every bartender that I've ever worked with is like, I want to do that. That looks fun. So um, basically, I get booked out, and then I started using my other bartenders. I just have a book of about 45 bartenders. So there's days where we have 7 events going. I just basically book the event for them, take a little cut for planning it, and then I just have my bartenders everywhere. But I've also brought on a business partner. We started this party bus business together, and he mainly runs the DJ business because that's totally out of my wheelhouse. And he's like lives in the matrix basically with all these cables putting him everywhere, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on, but I'm here for it. So, but we're trying to do the same business model with Bartender for Hire because it's really blown up. And I'm trying to do the same model with DJing. I want to get as many DJs as I can and be doing 7 a weekend here soon. So we've got 2 full DJ setups. They're expensive, but I want to keep adding them because if we could do 3 or 4 a day, that would be how we really make the big bucks, you know?
So how often, I know you're kind of just getting those started, but how often are you combining the two in bookings? So how often are you booking for bartender and DJ, or how often is there a bartender option on the party bus? How does
Yeah.
that work in your state?
So you can't really have a bartender on the party bus legally, but it's kind of like, it kind of is like bartending. Is they have to bring their own alcohol, but you can set up like a big thing for them and stuff. The party bus kind of just does itself. As long as you're driving it. Our party bus is super cool. It's got 2 different levels, tons of lights, 2 big subwoofers, stripper pole. It has a bevy bar. It's got everything you want. So that kind of just entertains them in itself. But as for the DJ business, it's only been up for about a month. So it's very in the infant stage. But we have, like you were saying, doing combinations is really what's getting us going, is because we can outprice everybody in the business, because it's like usually a DJ is like 2, 3, 4 grand, you know, and we're like, oh, well, we'll do it for 1,500 and you get a bartender, you know, and they're like, what? You know, but we're happy because we're making $750 that day plus tips, you know, and it's like, we're kind of pricing everybody out. I mean, we're going to bump up our prices for sure, but it just kind of strong arms ourselves into that position where it's like, when people are looking at how much they're paying, they're like, oh, I'm definitely going to pay half as much and get 2 services. So I'm looking to add other stuff though. I want to get somebody that's like a baker that I can start doing like wedding cake options too. Like you book your wedding cake, your DJ, your everything with us. And then probably the next thing I want to get into is a photo booth. Because if I could have a photo booth and also get money for just like taking the pictures and stuff, that would be awesome. So there's a ton of options, but we want to be a one-stop shop. Catering would be awesome as well, but that's such a big feat to bite off. I'm like, not this summer. I'd like to do some fun things this summer as well.
Well, photo booths, Andrea is your girl. So if you have any questions, Andrea is the one that you should ask on that. She owns her own selfie
Yes.
studio. So that's kind of literally what she does.
Totally.
I have a question for you based off of what you said a little bit earlier. So obviously I feel like with the bartender for hire, the startup cost wasn't that great in regards to like you were just going and basically doing gigs for people. Were you having to buy your own alcohol and provide all that, or was that included in the price that you were giving?
No, so in Washington, they let you basically at a lot of the event centers, and I've kind of just used it for private homes too, is you legally, the host has to buy the alcohol and then the bartender shows up with a Mass 12 permit. But in Washington, it's illegal at like actual event centers to just buy your own alcohol and serve it. You have to have somebody that has a Mass 12 permit to provide the alcohol for the people. So the laws have kind of helped us. They have built a need for our services. And also you don't just want to like, I mean, you could get Uncle Bob with a Mass 12 permit that works down at the saloon or something to like come help you. But like you need somebody that's, you want them to be seasoned and to know they're a good bartender. And all my bartenders, I only use them if I've known them personally. But I've worked with so many bartenders that it's not hard, you know, and I actually like when they move, because I want to start going into other states, because honestly, I'm just doing it through email and writing up all these events, that it would be really awesome to have some bartenders that really are go-getters that want to move to other like states. I almost said countries. That would be awesome. But states, and just start up their own bartender for hire businesses. Because honestly, franchising this thing would be the ultimate goal, because it would be awesome to just be taking a cut and letting them grow their own business. That's my goal. It's always been for the bartender. I want to see bartenders succeed. I've hated the stigma of, oh, he's just a bartender. He's just a bartender. And that's what I dealt with pretty much my whole life in this industry, is like, oh, you just bartend? And it's like, yeah, I make more money than you. You know, people don't get how powerful the service industry is. You can work 5 hours, make $500, go home and sleep while they're still at work with their tie on, trying to act superior. You know, it's like you can make a ton of money, and it's just, I wish that they got more respect. And that's kind of why I built this business, you know?
Oh, I told my husband all the time that I would go, I bartended and served for years, and I regret ever leaving. Like, I
Yeah.
was like, I was making more money than I have ever made in
Yeah.
most of my careers. And it was fun. And it was
Hmm.
like, and it was one of those industries where it's like, okay, I've got to pay power tomorrow. Cool. I'll just
Hmm.
pick up a shift tonight and I'll pay power tomorrow. Like,
Right.
I miss those days
It's
so
quick
much.
money. That's what I like about it too. You can put into it and get out what you put into it. It's like, and I like the flexibility. I have 3 kids, so I see people that have as many kids as me and they never see them. And it's like, well, I got to see my kids grow up, all of them from birth. I was there and got to spend every morning with them. And it's like that's my goal as well, is to be able to tuck my kids in at night when I want to and see them every morning and go do things on my own schedule. And that was also my biggest drive to be a businessman and like have my own business, was because I wanted to be able to see my kids. It's like I have I won't name drop him, but like I know a chef that like he literally never sees his kids. It's like, and I feel so bad for him. I'm like, you're working like 75 hours a week. You don't get to see your own kids. This is like, how do you live this life? And I totally respect it because he's just a workhorse, but it's like, that's not me. I'm not trying to live to work.
Right. So with the party bus part of it, obviously the
Yeah.
bartender for hire, that was able to stay skinny. Did you have to
Hmm.
take on any debt, or how did that work in regards to starting the party bus side of it? Because obviously you have to
Yeah.
have the party
We got
bus.
a really good deal. So, a guy that I've done a lot of business with, he runs A to B Party Pros. He's retiring and moving to Hawaii. He just bought like 20 acres out there. So he's been a real inspiration to me because I watch his business model. Him and his wife have a catering business and they do DJing and they do combos with it, kind of like what I'm doing with bartending. And it was really inspiring to me because I was like, I could never do catering. I could never do catering. And then like I came over and kind of saw the operation he was running, and he literally had like 12 rice cookers in his living room and like cooking these massive meals for these huge weddings. And it's just this little tiny house. And I'm like, if these two can do it, I got all these workers, I can do this. Like, so he was really inspirational to me. But he basically gave us a huge deal on this party bus. He's like, hey, I'm moving. If you want it for dirt cheap, I'll even throw in a DJ setup for you. With like, I mean, the cables that he gave me alone is like $2,000 worth of like electrical cables and stuff. And I'm just like, well, I'd be stupid not to take a DJ booth and try to make it into something, because it's like, and we just kind of keep adding speakers and stuff. And then we were like, well, now we have enough for like 2 setups. It's like, so, but I want to replicate Bartender for Hire. I'm like, if we could do multiple DJs, that's the way to go. It's why change the business model. It's the same industry.
I have a handful of logistical questions around more so the bartender for hire side.
Yeah.
So you personally do not have to have the liquor license then, because you're not purchasing the liquor, correct?
Right. So they have to get a day banquet permit, basically. I mean,
Okay.
honestly, like when we're doing private residences, it's whatever. I'm not too worried about it. It's like, if it's at your private house, it is what it is. The laws are pretty lax. We have $1 million liquor liability policy.
Okay.
I'm going to buy that up soon, but it's just for peace of mind. And then basically a lot of places, though, that are actual event centers, they require that the host purchases insurance, the bartender has insurance, and then they just have to get a day banquet permit, which is like $50 to the state. Basically, the state just wants to make their money. And then if they bring alcohol, we provide it. Everybody just has to have a Mass 12 permit. So it's fairly simple. More people could do it if they wanted to. Honestly, don't tell them that because I don't need the competition. But I mean, just getting the insurance has been what's honestly boosted our business a lot too. Is because like you'll see on Facebook groups, people are like, "Do you have a bartender for this event or for that event?" And everybody knows the bartenders. So they're like, "I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it." And then I'm like, "Well, we have $1 million liquor liability policy," and it's like, "Boop, we're taking you." So
Okay. And then again, more logistical questions.
yeah.
So if they purchase the alcohol for their home-based event or event center-based event, do you give them like a wish list of items you want them to purchase, or
Yeah.
do you just show up and you're like, okay, this is what we're working with?
I mean, that's how it was in the beginning. I would show up and there would be like no ice, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I getting myself
Or like
into?
mixers.
No,
That's what I was
yeah,
thinking, like garnishes or mixers or any of that.
there's pros and cons to that, because I mean, if you show up and they don't have that much, I mean, it's like, well, hey, when we run out, we run out. It's not my fault. It also takes kind of some of the pressure off of you, because it's like if they didn't get what I told them to, it's kind of on them a little bit. But I always write them up an invoice. That's kind of what my services are at this point, because I have so many bartenders that I'm just sending out across the state that I'm just their main point of contact. So I'm like, when you go to Costco or do whatever to buy this stuff, call me up. That's what I'm here for all day, is to be answering phone calls, helping people get their shopping lists done and stuff. But yeah, I'll write you out exactly. I've gotten really fine-tuned in it. We did over 70 events this summer, so I've gotten real good at knowing, like, if it's this amount of people, this is how much booze you should get, this is how much mixers you should get, this is how much garnishes you can get. But we do it pretty simple. Like, a lot of times I just tell them, pick 2 main cocktails, like a vodka one, a bourbon one. And then if you were to do like a vodka lemonade and a Manhattan on the rocks, off of there, if you get Coke, Sprite, tonic, and soda water, you can be doing vodka tonics, bourbon and Cokes, bourbon and sevens, stuff like that, you know, just easy ones. But it opens up the repertoire a little bit, and you only had to get like fairly cheap in the whole scheme of things, especially because like for their wedding, they're paying how much for DJ usually, how much for catering and all this. So the alcohol portion is pretty cheap when it comes down to it, even if you give them a big list. So,
and then your 45 or so ish bartenders that you have, that's kind of a call list for this.
Yeah.
Now, you said you know them personally, but do they all have, like, do they have to pass some level of knowledge with bartending, or, you know, because I know that there's kind of a range of everything from, you know, my cousin will pour some mixed drinks and probably make them really stiff, to, you know, their actual, like, you know, doing tricks and all sorts of kind of spicing it up things. So how does that work for you and those people?
Well, and it's just, I kind of have to think about who would fit well in this situation, because events are very different. We did a 400-person auction last year that was just beer and wine, where like you could do it, but there's different kinds of bartenders too. There's bartenders that are like, I can't even do the drinks they're doing, but they're really slow. You know what I mean? Like, so if it's like a group of like 13, 20 people, they're perfect for that situation. They look the look of like a speakeasy bartender. They're making these shaken with smoked cocktails and all this stuff. But then there's other ones where it's like, I know they can just hustle, but maybe they don't have the same bar etiquette. So I'll use them for these big events where it's like they're banging out, just pouring wine fast though, you know, and I know their work ethic. So, I mean, and I also, one of my main goals is to, being on the blocks really showed me this actually, was that there's a whole other side that I'm not making money off of, and that's the education side. And I want to make a class with YouTube videos, all this stuff where it's like you pay to get into our business, but you also have incentive, because I feel like there's a lot of people that say, oh, I went to bartending school. And I'm like, what is that? You know, you don't go to bartending school, you get thrown into a dive bar and you learn how to make drinks. Like anytime somebody goes, I've went to bartending school, I'm like, all right, I don't really want to, you know, but I'd like to bring some legitimacy to it. Whereas you're not just going to bartending school to get just some certificate that means nothing. It gives you incentive that you are going to work for Bartender for Hire for a certain amount of hours at least, where it's like, you'll get to bar back for us afterwards. And then if we can see that you can do it, then you get to do an event with us where you're actually bartending as the second bartender. And then if you do so many hours, then you get to do your own bartending, you know, or start your own bartending business. And so I think that would be super cool. And I think a ton of people would be interested, because a lot of people have asked me for bartending class, or what class I should go to. And I'm like, why shouldn't I make that? You know, I know how to do it. Let's do it. So, yeah.
I didn't know if you had another logistical question before I jumped in. Okay. Okay, so you kind of just hit on one of them, I suppose, with the education part of it. but what are the goals? I also know you mentioned franchising, that you would like to
Mhm.
franchise. What would you say your goals are in regards to like a year from now, 5 years from now? Like, what are your goals?
So a year from now, I would really like the DJing and the party bus business to just be totally locked down. I would like to buy a second party bus. A year from now, it's a lofty goal, but I'd like to have this first one totally paid off and start buying a new one, because there's a ton of days that are popular that people want that date. And it's like, no, we don't want the day after. We want that date. So it would be awesome to have two party buses able to go out at the same time. I would like to never drive the party bus again in a year from now. I would like it to have a scheduled driver that's fully insured. Right now, we're just trying to make our money back, to get the bus totally paid off. Even though it was fairly cheap, we had to get a new transmission put in it. We totally gutted it. We repainted it. We did new seats, new sound system. Like, we totally put a lot of money into this thing. So I would like to get that totally paid off, and maybe buy a new one. And then I would like to buy about 3 more mobile bars, because I only have so many of them and I feel like they rent out very quickly. And the rental side of this business is the one that I really want to get into, because it's like, we show up to these events and you see the caterer making a bunch of money, but they're sweating their guts out making all this food and being there for like most of the time. The bartenders make a bunch of money, but they're there working their asses off. But the rental people, they show up and drop the stuff off, and then I'm like, where are they going? Or they're gone. And it's like, I want that money where I'm driving around just delivering the bars and my bartenders are working, like, that is the life I would love to live. Is I wake up in the morning, go deliver this bar in Seattle, go deliver this bar out in Port Orchard, and that's how I think I could really make the big bucks, if I could just start delivering bars, having my bartender show up, getting a cut of that, and then also having the party bus take the guests there, and then the DJ showing up, making money off that. It's like, there's just a ton of ways, if I could get it all going at once, that I think it could just totally blow up. But you said a year out from now, I was going to say catering, but I just think I'm going to get past this summer, and then I'm hoping next summer that I could start getting into the catering side of it, maybe just some real easy stuff, because it's just people are so picky about food, and it's like, also there's just food. I don't know about where you're at, but the health board is just super strict here. Like, they will shut you down, they'll fine you, they'll do a ton of stuff. Whereas the liquor board is pretty lax. Like, I rarely deal with them. But the health side of it, like, people take food real seriously around here, So if we're gonna do it, I want it to be, and you don't want to put a bad product out. I'm super disciplined on making sure that what I put out is good. I don't want any bad reviews. So it's like, I would want the food aspect of it to be totally honed in. My sister, she makes like the best macaroons you've ever had in your life. They're like better than France. So I would really like to get her in on this and just start making macaroons for some of these parties and people. Cause I'm trying to get her entrepreneur side worked up a little bit. Cause I'm like, you could have a business. Like, if people would pay big bucks for these cookies, and if I could find somehow to bring that to some of these wedding parties as like their pastries that they have and stuff for snacks, that would be a cool way too. So a lot of goals. It's just kind of which one do you hit first,
So it's funny you mentioned that. I right after going on the blocks, actually, I decided I needed something to lure people into the Selfie Studio.
Yeah.
So I added a candy store. We're on a historic main street in a small town. So I added a candy store to the front room. And, that obviously helped with the brick and mortar portion of it. But what's funny is we now have a brochure where we market selfie stations and candy stations for your weddings, because they're so trendy. And if she does macaroons, like, you'll kill it, because you can make those the color of their wedding. So that's what we do, is we color code the candy stations to match their wedding. And so it'll be a really easy add-on for her if you can talk her into doing it.
Totally. Yeah. I want to, So my mom has, to go off of your selfie stick type thing, my mom has a Volkswagen bus, and there's a business up in Seattle they turn Volkswagen buses into into photo booths. And I think that would be perfect if I could turn that into a photo booth, because I was down at one and this lady's sitting there outside the bus. I goes, how much do you charge for this thing? She goes, oh, I just work for them. They pay me $150 to be here for 5 hours. I'm like, okay, how much do they charge for this? Oh, $1,500. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. I need to get in on this, like, because I can have somebody, I would pay somebody twice that, $300. I pay my bartenders a lot of money. I pay everybody that I work with, I have them try to, like, if I'm at an event, I want them to make more money than I'm making, because I want to keep them coming back. And that's one of my business models that I think it hasn't paid off in the very beginning, but it's paid off in the long run, because I have been able to use my bartenders multiple times. There's never been a bartender that I've hired or anybody that has worked with me that said, that wasn't worth it. You know, and it's like, I want you to be making more than you would be if you were doing your normal job, because I feel like that's the way to incentivize people to blow my business up. And I'm like, if I'm going to pay you this money, I want you to tag my business, take some pictures while you're there, you know, like, this is all for the family. Let's grow this thing, you know? So I think that's a good way to do in the event industry, because there's a lot of places they can work in the service industry, you know, make them come to you, you know, so.
You, me, you, do you have one? I feel like I've asked a million. So if you have something similar industries, right? I'm like, oh, I have all these questions.
Where are you ladies at? You're in Florida?
I'm in Georgia.
Georgia. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm in Southern Illinois, right outside of St. Louis.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
We're all
So
tired.
we are 3 different time zones. Like all 3.
It doesn't matter what time zone. We're all tired the day after.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, if you want to bring Bartender for Hire to Georgia, like, I'm here for it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm here for it all day long.
That's what I said on the show. So I was like, I go, one of my end goals is to be like having these businesses running themselves a little bit. I can do it from my computer, you know, and be like, I want to go do some destination like parties. I'll do them for cheap. I just want to go state to state and do some parties for some Bloxers, you know. I think that'd be super fun.
Heck yeah.
Blow up each other's businesses.
I did remember a question. The mobile bars that you were talking about, are those like a cart, or are you talking like a trailer, like food truck style? Like, so indoor or outdoor?
No, I have, I wish I had it in here. So it's like a big, it almost looks like a pallet bar, but it's made of oak. So it snaps into like 7 pieces, and it has a big top that goes over it. That's our main one. And then I bought some cheaper ones off of Amazon, but they're still really nice. They just kind of, they're like so much easier to transport. So I charge a little cheaper for them. But yeah, I would love to get, we have somebody here in town that takes horse trailers and turns them into these like deluxe bars. If I had a little bit more money, I would definitely throw down on one of those here soon. So I want a little option for everything. I want my website's where I'm really lacking. I need to get my website with all my add-ons. I want the DJ portion added into there. I want, so I have a lady that does flash paintings for weddings. So she'll paint like the whole venue before you get there, and then it'll be set up down the aisle. So then while you're getting married, she paints you and adds you into the painting. I want her to have her own page on our website, because I'm like, I could totally promote her. You know, I think people would love that for a wedding. It's such a cool, like intricate thing that not many people do, you know? So if I could do, I just need to get my website a little bit better, but yeah, I'm all for adding every which way and what kind of bar that I can find. I'm always looking on OfferUp and all these different sites to try to buy new bars, because it's just, like I said earlier, there's so many events that are so different, you know? Like I just got hired to do a murder mystery at a private speakeasy around here. They won't even tell me where it's at. And I'm like, this is what I live for. That's the kind of stuff, you know? But it's like, you want a really nice, like, speakeasy looking bar for that. Or there's weddings where it's like, you just want all white, you know? So I want like every kind of bar I can get my hands on. I just need some more area to store it around here. My wife's like, you're taking up the whole garage with coolers and bars, but it pays the bills. So
can't complain too much then, huh?
Right.
Okay, Nichole, any other questions before the question?
I mean, I guess I was just going to ask. So you said you have 3 children. So
Yeah.
what does your work-life balance look like now for you with your kids and your family and your wife?
No sleep. We got an 8-month-old baby that we always joke if he was the first one, we would only have him because he just screams. He's like, he has to be held. He was 10 pounds. He's just like, he's just this little demon that was born, and it's just crazy. We love him so much, but he just never stops screaming. So it's been pretty hectic. I get home late. We're up from him all night. It's like, it's been a hard balance, but the kids live a good life. My kids are spoiled, you know. I grew up on meat and potatoes every day. That's all my grandma would feed me. Meat and potatoes, meat and potatoes. She'd yell at you if you didn't like it. I'm like, my kids are like, are we going to have crab tonight? Should we go get lobster? I'm like, who the hell are you kids? Who raised you? You little spoiled brats. They live a good life, though.
I did think of one more also, sorry. Marketing. Where do you generate your leads currently?
I mean, we're like almost solely on Facebook. I mean, after
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, social media, but I mean, we were in Fox Island magazine for a long time. But there's such a like interesting, I live in Gig Harbor, and it's really hard to explain this town to people. It's such a cool water town. Like everybody owns water property. So like once you get those kind of customers, they just keep having you back, you know. And we've become preferred vendors at like pretty much everywhere we've gone to. They've really liked our business model. So we have a ton of recurring events at different venues around here. But I really do need to get my SEO and my like Google platform, all that stuff up to snuff. And that's what I really took away from the blocks was like, man, some of these people, they have amazing businesses and their social media is just like non-existent, you know. And it's like, I thought that you had to have the social media, which you pretty much, I still believe that you do, but it really showed me that like I need to totally, once I have some more downtime, really start focusing on that side of things, because I think I'm leaving half of my business off of the table, really. But we've been so busy, it's like, could I really take on twice as much right now? I don't know, you know. So but it's exciting to know that that avenue is there, that if I get a little bit more techie, that I could blow it up to a different level for sure.
So when you say primarily from social media now, and then obviously repeat,
Mhm.
do you do paid ads, or is this just organic posting about your current events
we
results in reach
we
out?
did paid ads in Facebook, and then it was going really well, and then they kind of like banned us because I guess like promoting alcohol, they think you're like promoting it to kids or something. I don't know. It's just like they just kept flagging even that it had nothing to do with alcohol. It just keeps getting flagged. So mainly I'm just posting every day, you know. Like I said, I incentivize my bartenders. Like when they're out, I'm like, I want one picture of a drink that you made that's really cool, a picture of the venue, a picture of you behind the bar, and then if you want to say something, it's basically, I've told them, the better social media you have, the more events I'm going to give you, because you're getting me more events, you know. So
Smart.
that's been a really cool way to I'm buying them all like popple bracelets that have all my information on it, so like as they're bartending, they can literally just touch their bracelet to people's phones and like put my information in there. I'm trying to make them my advertisement, you know. I make them wear the bartender for hire shirts, so it's been good that way. But yeah, I do need to up that game a little bit.
Don't we all?
So
Yes.
what keeps your bartenders from going out and just doing their own gigs?
I've wondered that myself, you know, but I don't think it's easy to be an entrepreneur. You know, people don't, and like a lot of them have tried, but it's like, go for it. I say go for it. I'm not afraid of competition. I'm not afraid of people succeeding. I believe fully that the cream will always rise to the top. You know, I'm all for people that want to go start their own business. hands off to you. If you can take this and make it an easy life, I tell you to run with it, because it's not easy, you know. It's like, people don't know the struggles of entrepreneurship. It's hard. Like, you'll make $5,000 one day and then you won't make nothing for 2 weeks, you know. And it's like, you gotta be willing to really put yourself out there. Anytime. You can't get in Facebook arguments anymore. Like, I've been in Facebook arguments where when people start like blowing my business up, I'm like, okay, no more of that. You know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot of things that you have to think about. That it's like, and I also think that, honestly, if I keep up making them good money, why would they want to go do their own thing? If I'm doing all the legwork for them, I mean, they're making good money. So, but yeah, I'm all for people starting there. And that's why I want to franchise it out, because if I could incentivize them to want to make their own business and then it's still making me money, that'd be great, you know. But it's all about connections around here. You can't just go and become a preferred vendor at some of these places, you know. Yeah, you might be able to. I have had bartenders that kind of try to like snake my business. Like, I'll go get them a really cool gig with someone at their mansion, and then they try to start doing events for them personally, you know. And it's like, all right, well, have fun just doing events for them, you know. You know, I could have gotten you that plus 500 more places that are super awesome, you know. I could have sent you to Vegas, or, you know, stuff like that. And it's like, so I really respect people that go, hey, this person hit me back, they want me back, but it's your business, so I didn't want to overstep. And I'm like, that I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna get you 3 more events next week because of that, you know. So it's all give and take, you know. But I want everybody to do good. There's nothing in my soul that wants to hold down any other bartenders from making money. That's why we're here for, you know. So, and I'll do that. Like, there's times where people will go, hey, I got a gig, but they need insurance. And I'm like, we'll just do it under bartender for hire. You're still gonna make that money. I'll just charge them $100 to use our insurance, you know, because I trust my bartenders in putting a good and not over serving people and doing good. So it's like, I'm all for them saying, hey, I've went and got my own business, but can we just do it through you because you're legal, you know? So there's a lot of ways to look at it.
Well, and you're right. And this is really with any industry, but yours, for example, is it's one type of person that's willing to get the call and say, hey, are you available Saturday night? They show up, they do the work. That's one type of person. It is another type of person to go out and pursue getting to be a preferred vendor, going out and, you know, rubbing elbows with people at networking meetings and saying, hey, for your next event, you know, like the sales piece of it. Some people just don't have that. And so, yeah,
a little thing. I mean, you got to think about making sure that none of your bartenders are no-showing or having a backup plan. Like, that's been the scariest thing, is we've never no-showed an event, but I'm like, I'm putting a lot of trust in some of these people to like go drive far away and be there on time, you know. And it's like, I have to always be calling them. You have to be on top of everybody. Like, where are you at? Are you almost there? Because if you're not, I'm going to leave and go do it myself, or, you know. People don't think about the stuff that keeps you up at night being an entrepreneur, you know. And that's the biggest thing, is it takes a certain kind of person to be able to deal with that stress all the time, you know. There's no off day when you own your own business. It's just, there isn't, you know.
I swear this is literally could not be a more perfect lead into the final question that we ask everyone on that comes on the podcast. Literally could not be a better intro. But what would be one piece of advice that you would offer to someone who's really thinking about starting their own business, or maybe someone who has just gotten started and they're kind of in the thick of it? What is one piece of advice you would give to them?
I mean, I would say just do it. It's like, don't make it too pretty to start, you know. And that's, I think, what we took away from the show, and that's always been my mindset, and it was more validation, was that, you know, just start doing stuff. Like, if you have a product or you're good at something, show people that you can do that. Go do it, you know, and just build from there. There's always things that you can make better, which is what's awesome about being an entrepreneur, is that you get to look back a year from now and go, man, we were such a like crappy product back then. Look how awesome we look now, you know? And it's like, it's fulfilling because every time you look back, you feel like you've grown so much, you know? Whereas I feel like there's every other business, it's like, well, we did this amount of sales and this year we did this amount, you know? And it's just like, who cares, you know? It's just so monotonous. Whereas when you have your own business, every success, every failure, that's on you, but every success is yours, you know, like you feel it. So I say, just go do it. Find what you're good at and give it to the world. That's all you can tell somebody. And want it. If you don't want it, don't do it. You know, you got to really want to have a passion for what you're doing. That would be my biggest advice.
I love it.
It was nice meeting you, ladies.
You as well, Dane. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on. And for those that are interested in learning more, or maybe even talking to you about franchising in their state or bringing you to their state, what is the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you, find you on social medias? What's the best way for them to find Dane?
Go to bartenderforhire.com. It has all our social medias, all my phone numbers, all that. Bartenderforhire.com. I paid a lot of money for that website. Use it.
Well, thank you so much, Dane, and we hope that you have an amazing day.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you.
Thank you.